Welcome back to a different kind of video. They did an update with the app today, so I figured I'd make a little screen recording talking about that. So if the audio sounds weird, I am just using my phone and going through the app and talking about some of the changes and at least one issue that I have seen with the update, but I don't think it's a very major one. Certainly doesn't affect any particular workout, but the nice thing is they've added some exercises in that weren't previously in there. One of them being, as you see here, the pause front squat. Currently before yesterday, you couldn't add that in. It wasn't a movement that was in the exercise library, but now that is. So I will have to go back to my Tuesday workout and change that because I have that as a bottom up squat because that didn't exist in there. But now they also have added in the learn function for the bottom up back squat and bottom up front squat, which is just, the video is, I can show it here. It's just a Anderson squat. So you can see her doing it for the pins. I certainly won't be doing that movement because I don't need my low back pumped any more than it gets from doing other movements. Plus, I don't like trying to set that up at the house with the boxes. If you saw that video of me trying to do them, it's just kind of a bit too cumbersome to set them up. And I feel like pause front or back squats are going to have a better carryover. And they just feel better in general to do versus trying to do Anderson squats. Nor do I feel like trying to progress those because I just haven't really done them too much ever. Pause squats, I feel like I've done them a lot more and they're going to have more carryover. But we'll go back to my Friday workout here. So when I went to the swap, let me go to a different movement because now it's kind of messed up when you do it that way. But if I go to swap here, the default movement that was added in was clean pulls for this workout. It gives you originally these three movements that you can swap to. If I select other, like I did for the pause front squat, it kind of messes up this option where it doesn't show the default swaps from before, but you could still go to whatever movement that you want. Theoretically, I could pick block above the knee power snatch. Like you could really pick anything and it will add it in there, but obviously you kind of want to keep it similar. Like if I had the bottom up squats or the pin squats like I had before, change on pause squats, that's a pretty similar movement, but I also use it to change for a lot of accessories as well. This originally was like planks or something, and I changed it to the glute bridge because that's probably the most common accessory that I've been doing. Probably 3, 4, 5 days a week. I try to do it pretty frequently, but just a lot of glute work with a band just to continue to strengthen the hips and the glutes and all of that good stuff. I haven't been as good about doing things like the bent over rows or the pull-ups and stuff, but I think a lot of that's just because I've been doing a lot of extra sets in the main movements. But that's been one change in the main part of it. The one flaw, so I can go over the flaw here in this screen, is not actually with any of the workouts or the exercises or any of the swapping that I talked about before. All of those updates are good and seem like they've make it a little bit better. Adding more variations and more exercises into the exercise library, always a good thing. If I click here, if you've used the app before, you'll notice that the date function or like swapping between workouts is different. And I think this is going to be a good change. It just has to be programmed correctly because right now it's not. If I look here, I can click on any workout of the current week I'm on as I drop my phone and scare Charles that was taking a nice nap there, probably imagining the next bird that he's going to kill in the backyard. But you can't go back to the previous week. I didn't have a workout scheduled on the 31st. I have that as my quote-unquote off day, but I can't go back to July. There's no function for that right now. So they just have to make it so you can swap the dates to go back into the previous month to be able to look at different workouts that you had previously completed. And it's funny because I recorded this before and I made that same tongue twist and said that wrong word, but I guess it still kind of has a similar meaning. But you can't do that. Obviously, you can't look at future workouts because they haven't been programmed yet, but obviously, you should be able to look at the previous workouts. That was something you were able to do before. So that's a functionality that they just need to program in. I don't think that's a very difficult one because those workouts are still, tracked in the app. And I'm sure you can still look, say, if I wanted to say what my best no hook, no foot snatch is, you can still look at your movement. If you look through the movements, I'm not going to do that now, but you can still look through the movements and see what your best is and see what other workouts looked like with that particular movement. So you're still able to see your history, but you just can't look to see what the actual workout was, which is why I'm glad I write down everything as well as track it on the app, so I can actually look back myself if there is an issue with the app like there is right now. But I don't think that'll be something that will last too long. It will be a pretty easy fix for them to do. The other big change, and if you have the app right now or have had it and they sent out an email blast talking about this, is this screen. So a lot of this screen has changed pretty dramatically. When you load in, you notice this says program settings at the top. That part, I think it was there, but a lot of the formatting has changed. The training days, this is pretty much the same. You can pick which 6 days or whatever amount of days that you want to train. I think a minimum is 3, maybe as low as 2. I always just have it at 6. So I basically train every day. I might split up one of the workouts or have like a really light day or a crappy training session like I had the other day, and that kind of be my off day. But the other big changes is actually not with the program options. This is pretty much the same as it was before. You can take or add block lifts back into the program, or at least have the option for the AI to give you block work. Same with the Big Friday. You can pick which day of the week you want to have your Big Friday on, or if you don't want to have it at all. I, of course, want to have it because I am a gamer like that. In the advanced options, you have a very new screen. So when I first opened up the app today, it was turned on to technique. I changed it to competition. And you can see here the description changes, but it actually changes some of the stuff down here. So I'll leave it at competition, and we'll scroll down and show you the frequency. Some of the changes have actually happened here as well automatically, whether I had it on technique or here, where the pressing went down to 1 day a week, pulls went up to 4 days a week, and I think everything else stayed the same. But then you have this new screen here of volume. So this frequency screen was the same as it was before. It just changed the numbers that I was programmed before, but you could have these sliders before. This volume screen is a new one. Right now everything's at 0%, but if I go back up and say change it to a strength or bodybuilding, we'll just leave it on strength. I can scroll down and it changes the volume to being increased by 20% for the squats, pulls, and the presses. And I don't know what that does for individual workouts. I don't really want to mess with that right now, but it says that increase or decrease the size of your workouts. So I'd guess sets or reps, something would increase with your workout. I would imagine that it would probably just increase the reps a little bit because it seems to be the easiest. But who knows? It's something I might mess around with later, but not anything that I'm going to mess around probably during the duration of the current program that I'm on. But right now I have it set to competition, which has my frequency, everything set up pretty normally, and the volume, everything's at +0. So I thought that was it's a pretty good change. I mean, you can really get into the nitty gritty of what you want to do. And I think what it will probably do is, I mean, individuals will be able to mess with stuff more, but I think this will allow, if there's like a team, if you're coaching a bunch of people, you could really kind of customize people's individual workouts. And I think actually makes it quite easy. So if I was, say, coaching a team of 10 people, and you notice that, Tim is not doing as well in snatching and needs to do more snatching, less clean and jerks, however you want to adjust it with that. Same with like squats and pulls. You can adjust it with that, which is nice. I have to kind of look at that and see what it does to workouts. Like I said, I don't really want to mess with it right now and potentially have issues with what my workouts look like. But I think it could be very interesting because, like, for me, I could decrease the pulls and increase the pressing. That would be an interesting change. It goes in increments of 10%. And you can go as high as 50%, as low as 50%. And it's also kind of nice, I think, so for, like, coaching a team, for individuals, you can individualize a program within the individualization of the programming, which is kind of nice. But you can also change the frequency if you're, like, having issues with a squat, if like you want to have more or less, obviously, but if you have some sort of injury, you can change the frequency or the volume of it. If I had some sort of like wrist injury, I probably would attack the frequency first before I worry about the volume, so I can not do that movement. But interesting changes with it. I think the flaw with the calendar thing will be something that will be pretty easily fixed with a future update. But I think it's definitely a good one because they've added those exercises in that weren't in there, like the pause squats. They've added some more learn of the movements, which is nice for clarifications, depending on what you're doing. Like here, the no hook, no feet clean. I don't know if they had a learn one with there. They probably did. It's not a very difficult movement, but it's nice to have it in because it does clarify things and you don't have to guess what the movement looks like. I have used it for a couple different things. Mostly, I think the most useful it's been has been the bottom up squat because now I can actually clarify that I surely do not want to do those, but I'll just stick with the pause squats. But anywho, wanted to kind of go over those updates. I guess depends on how many big updates they do, but this was a pretty big one. most of the previous updates they've had recently haven't been too grandiose, or at least anything that I've particularly noticed within the app. But this one has been a pretty big one. So hopefully they keep building. App has only gotten better the more times I've used it, as far as the usability of it and the actual programming with it. I think in the future, I think they'll just continue to add things, which is nice. But kind of excited to mess around with it a little bit, but we'll see. Anywho, that's it for this one. Hopefully you enjoyed or got a little bit out of it and kind of get to see the interface a little bit. If you want more of these kind of videos of me kind of like going through the app, or if you have questions in particular about things that you want me to talk about with using the app, feel free to let me know. I don't mind making these. They're pretty easy to make because I have a little app on my phone that allows me to make screen recordings, and I can always make one of these for you guys if there are questions like that. But if not, no problem either way. Anywho, that's it for this one.